I think that there are many factors that are responsible for the slow pace at which poverty has been tackled on the continent. The key thing is really the general absence of the level of good governance that is required in order to tackle poverty. And this good governance shows up in the form of sound economic, social, and other policies. The absence of the dynamic types of institutions that are anchored on the rule of law, and the absence of quality investment in the public goods and services, that is the basic services that citizens need in order to lift themselves out of poverty. So when there is a problem with good governance, there is a tendency for you not to get the kind of economic growth and development that reaches a threshold for lifting many hundreds of people out of poverty. So it means that we must fix good governance on the continent. We must fix governance on the continent in order to get good governance. And so it took me from a conversation on economic development to a conversation around the structure of our politics and the quality of our political engagement. The reason being that when you have, there's a certain level of political process that generates the space for the right kinds of economic policies. These are more technical, but these technical solutions cannot work in environments where the adaptive leadership that is necessary does not enable it to happen. Right, so the reason that I didn't jump on corruption is because when you talk about good governance, it is a bigger barrier to development than just talking corruption. Corruption is a symptom of poor governance, and so there is something much more profound. When people quickly say corruption, then they just spend their time, looking for how to tackle corruption. But the issues are more fundamental and structural. And so, yes, the continent has to deal with the corruption challenge, but the corruption challenge manifests because the basic features of good governance include things like accountability, like participation, responsiveness, adherence to the rule of law, the equality and equity, things that like transparency. These things are fundamental to having an environment that presents less opportunity for corruption. I'm one of the co-founders of Transparency International, and so when it comes to issues of corruption, I mean, I can speak to it from now until tomorrow. But to just glibly say no, that doesn't do it. Our situation is much more fundamental, and so fixing good governance, we need to look at the structural issues in our politics. Why does our political space attract the quality of people it attracts, whereas the best of Africa's minds are programmed elsewhere? The politics needs to be fixed on our continent. When the politics is fixed on our continent, we would have good executives, we would have good lawmakers, we would have very strong and effective judiciary. When you have that context, you would assemble the best of Africa's minds to engage in the policy process and execution of those policies. No, there's no such thing. Look, the population is outgrowing the pace of the reforms. The reforms are not happening as much as they should happen. And so, the population is growing, many more people. Economic growth is less than population growth rate in a number of the countries. When that happens, you have more people sliding into poverty. And then you look at the fact that the amount of resources that is required to be invested in the school system, and even just the basic structure of the school system, does not enable learning to happen, even for those who go to school. And so when they go to school, they don't find jobs. It gets to the point where some families are thinking maybe school is not the answer. And so you have many more out-of-school children. Nigeria has almost 13 million out-of-school children. And that's totally unacceptable. So it has to take a fundamental shift of priority. I believe, I'm one of those Africans that I don't care about our natural resources. I care about our human resources. I care about our investing in education for boys and for girls. And I care about solving the problems of low learning outcomes in our education system by focusing a lot of resources into quality of teaching. The quality of the teacher determines everything. School systems that are at the top in the world are the ones that have paid attention to the matter of the quality of the teachers, and then ensuring that our funding of education is not mere, finance for education, but it's really investment in education. Investment really targets those aspects of spending that would give you better learning experience to children. Oh, it is the option for Africa. As a matter of fact, I think that is Africa's best opportunity. I am one person that believes that Africa will claim the 21st century because of technology. We're going to do it. We will do it once we fix Africa's politics.